This is part 2 of the Automoblox T9 axle. This is the 2016 version with the blue pickup truck. So go ahead and go back into the part file that we've been creating on this axle. So far what we've created is the basic shape of the top half of that axle, and now we just need to put in the vertical dimensions. So let's go back into that sketch. Over in the browser bar, if you double click on sketch 1, that'll take us right back into it. And we can begin dimensioning. Sometimes it doesn't really matter what order we dimension the vertical pieces in, but at other times it might throw some different pieces off, so we'll try to get it done in the right order. We can always undo a step if we place a dimension and decide it doesn't quite fit. So back in the part drawing, what we're looking at as far as vertical heights go is these are diameters. Like the 0.19 is going from the top half to the bottom half. But since we are only drawing half of the axle, we need to cut all of these diameters in half. We can do that with a calculator, or we can have Inventor do it for us. So when we go about doing dimensions here, let's go ahead and place this first the first vertical dimension, and this is 0.46 divided by 2. So instead of us doing the math on this, let's just have Inventor do it for us. And then the full height above that, if we place this, is 0.57 divided by 2. Things are starting to look aligned. This height right here is quite small. It's 0.01. Over on the right side, the height of these small ridges, 0.005. And each one of them is exactly the same. It looks like this one came along, based on that previous dimension. This one needs to get changed to be 0.005 as well. So those heights are set. A couple other heights that we can place, 0.19 divided by 2. One above that, 0.25 divided by 2, and the piece above that over on the far right is 0.29 divided by 2. If you kind of keep an eye on the bottom right corner, it does say that 3 dimensions are needed, so we just have a couple more to place. Let's go up here to this one. That is 0.3 divided by 2. Next up, we have 0.25 divided by 2. And lastly, 0.19 divided by 2. As it turns out, a couple of these edges really were perfectly horizontal to each other. And now we are fully constrained. All of our dimensions are in place. Let's go ahead and finish the sketch. That means that we are ready to revolve this to create our axle. So we go up to the revolve, select the profile. The axis to revolve around, we need to revolve around this bottom horizontal edge. And sure enough, that looks like our axle, so let's click OK. This is a great time to save your work. And one last thing from the part drawing is that we do need to create that cut on the opposite edge of this axle. So let's spin this thing around and take a look at it. We do need to create a new sketch on this very last edge, that ring, that face. So let's create a new sketch there. And the first thing to do is project some geometry here in this outermost circle so that we can utilize the centerpiece. And we might need to rotate just a little bit to see some of the differences on all of those concentric circles. So to create this cut, I'm going to draw a rectangle. And one specific thing I need to do is really line up the center of this rectangle with the center of this axle. So I'm going to use the vertical constraint. Find the center of the rectangle, and then the center of the circle, so it just barely shifts it. And lastly, I do want this cut to go on the top and the bottom. So I'm going to drag this corner point down, extending the height of that rectangle, so that it will make a cut in the top as well as a cut in the bottom. And lastly, I'll set the horizontal width as 0.04. That's how wide this slot needs to be. But unfortunately now it has changed the shape of my rectangle, so let's drag up and drag down again. Finish the sketch. So now when I make this cut, it will chop off right off the top and right off the bottom. So let's extrude this. Select the profile, but we want this to cut backward. Let's choose the cut option, and for the distance it needs to cut 0.2. Click OK. We do have the fully finished axle. Save your work.